Tune in live to Futures Trade Radio by joining the MV3 Trade Engineers Discord, link in the description below. Good morning, I am Rob with MV3 Trader, and you are listening to Futures Radio, and we are live. All right, today's session is sponsored by MV3 Trader. MV3 Trader is your source for tips and everything that you need to know in terms of trading in the futures and developing strategies and bringing out the best trader within. That's MV3 Trader, mv3trader.com. Also tune in this Friday for a very special squawk that we have Friday on YouTube. So be on the lookout for that. And let's get started. All right, so this morning we've had this decent amount of sell-off from our power range. We traded all the way down to the moon in the bear zone, seeing some mechanical responses off our balance levels, and we have this big gap. This is something that I'm paying attention to. If we end up having some bullish retracement, we have this big gap between my balance levels of 16,105 and 16. I saw this 83, but that's 33 and a half. So that if we make it back there, I wouldn't be looking personally into taking a trade until at least that my power range high, or where I'm looking at where I use this to look for a reversal, which is around 116. So that's the way that I'm looking at the market. That's my perspective of the market this morning. We're trading in a wide range, so we have to put the risk on the table if we're gonna get involved. And we are open. Oh, I'm not forget to go through my daily reminders. The only goal is to trade the strategy to perfection. No orders after 10:15. Make sure we're paying attention to our profit thresholds. For me, it's 600 or more. Always see the bigger picture. Pull the trigger as defined by your strategy. And we are ready to go. It's like we have a little bit of look below and fail within the first couple of minutes. We're currently trading inside of the moon, going back to the edge of this moon. We have a supply zone right above that at 929. But we are trading into that with momentum, looking for a response there. And then the next level I'll be looking for a response is at 962. Quick response at our supply zone. Appears to be a little bit of absorption from our sellers up here. It's a micro battle. Still holding price here around 917. Looks like we have some buyers showing up. It's gonna say above 50% of this one momentum candlestick that I'm using as a reference here. There's a push through that. Potentially turn into an inventory range. I didn't mark this off, but I have this 874 and a quarter that was well, it's really 880. We'll call it 880 as our overnight session low. That we are seeing a response off of. We have our balance level there, so there wasn't really a need for me to mark it off. At this point, I'll be looking for a solid inventory range. As of right now, that balance level is sort of, or now to 880 is sort of serving as an inventory zone. Back into our supply zone, we're once again seeing a response from our sellers. Sellers being shorts, trying to get take a short position here. Also selling from the buying that took place inside of our inventory zone. Alright, that last 1 minute, the last 2 minutes printed as a continuation to take prices higher. Watching to see if we get follow through there, or if this turns into a slingshot. Back inside of the range. Seeing more buyers jump in here. A lot of participation coming in from our buyer participants. And the battle is continuing. The back and forth action up here. Retest of our previous supply zone. Coming into our 962 balance level, where we are seeing an immediate response as soon as we touch that area. That was a very mechanical response there. Last two 1 minute candles printed as a continuation or inside pair for a continuation. Let's see if we break higher. There's the break. Above this we have VWAP. If we can make it above this mechanical level here at 962. That VWAP is inside of some noise from a structural standpoint. Just using that VWAP as a point of reference, a point of mechanical reference, not looking to take an action there. Pausing at the VWAP. Caught some quick selling off the VWAP. That last 1 minute printed as a reversal. But we do have our 962 mechanical level right below that. Making an attempt to push through. Price pausing, showing us a buy response. Again, our buying and selling having a brief battle here. We saw an increased participation from sellers, but price did not move. So that tells us that we have some buying absorption there. What I'm just calling a battle zone. Held that mechanical level, making an attempt to push back into the VWAP. Here's another attempt to push below that mechanical level, the mechanics. Still see the presence of some buying, but we are starting to push lower. Some more buy response. Kind of ignoring the numbers at this point, just watching the price action. There's our pushback into VWAP. So we're just holding price here. Some ping pong price action as our buyers and sellers just battle this out. Making a push above VWAP. A little bit of momentum came in there. If we have any shorts that are trying to, that are still holding us for a position back to our session lows, then they should be feeling a little bit of pressure here. But they are not, they haven't given up yet. Seeing the sell response there, taking us slightly back below VWAP. And we're just still watching the battle. Back on the VWAP, heading back to our mechanical level of 962. Once again, another response. I do have to mark this one off up back here as a trigger, but I didn't take it because I didn't like the way it was setting up. Now we're getting a strong push below that mechanical level of 962. Finding some buyers along the way. We have the mechanics under 940 as a point of interest. That would be our dynamic mechanics. Catching some front run, holding price, and to the mechanics. Not seeing much of a response as of yet at the mechanics. We're just slowly making our way lower, back inside of our previous supply zone. And I'm looking at the mechanics to see how mechanical, or what the mechanical price action or participation, what is it responding to? That way I can kind of have a little bit of insight of, in terms of the algo, which algo they're running. Is it going to be off of structure? Mostly we're seeing structure this morning. Or is it going to be off of our indicators? Or is it going to be a hybrid? So far this morning, I'm seeing more of a structural mechanical response.
So when you say structure, are you also referring to that as volume?
Yep, that's a mixture of volume and historical print of price.
Okay.
So I'm weighing both of those kind of the same, not putting one above the other. I need both to be present in order for me to really call it a mechanical structural level. That did sort of print as a takeout trigger for me. However, I'm not 100% liking the way that one is trading against the mechanical level. So it's not a full, like, it's not the best setup in terms of what I would look for. And we are seeing a buy response there still. But it does appear that I'm still seeing participation from both sides. I don't really see either side really taking control over the price right now. Just in a lot of sell interest as we push price back inside of where I'll be looking, where I identified a trigger. And that previous supply zone is now serving as a point of inventory, short-term inventory, as we push through that. Which reminds me, I need to finish that wholesale write-up that I did. Because I'm kind of seeing that kind of price action this morning.
Another great opportunity to plug Friday. I think that'd be a great day to bring out the notebook and start putting it together that day, because that's really what we're gonna watch.
Mm-hmm. Still seeing the back and forth. This previous supply zone is still serving as inventory. So we can call this and we can just remove the supply aspect of it and just call it inventory. But I'm still kind of looking at it from a supply perspective because overall the trend is still short. And make sure I keep the bigger picture in mind. The way that this is printing out, I am looking at the moon again. We did see buyers or some buying come in. What is this? Around 922. But we are seeing some pushback. So if we can push prices below that, that would serve as a trigger for a potential stop run, even though I don't really see it as a strong stop run, but we do have some buy interest here where we could see some stops below that inside of the moon, at least to 890.5, that balance level. Still have our inventory interest there. For me, more than anything else, this price action and structure is leading the way. Our sellers just really are starting to hit it hard now, making an attempt to push us through this inventory zone. And our buyers just absorbed all of that, or making an attempt to anyway, and pushed us right back into a potential slingshot. Catching some momentum long. Found a mechanical response that I'm seeing as mostly profit taking, as our buyers loaded into that, caught some of those shorts, and they took some quick profit off the table as they absorbed all of that selling. I had to exercise some discipline there because I did want to take that as I saw it happening, the potential for the slingshot. I did want to take a scalp long there, but I got to stick to the strategy. And the strategy right now is just looking for shorts. We're still holding price inside of this range between 962 and 918. Back inside of our inventory. Where we are finding a response once again. Pushing us back inside of the zone, inside of the range. And it's kind of giving me the vibes of what we saw yesterday, where our size participant are just moving price back and forth here to build a position within this first hour for, you know, the move of the day. And keeping in mind the bigger picture, we are still short or bearish, with a little bit of room to go from a daily perspective into some support. And if I had to put a price on a range for daily support, I would say 708 or 710. Let's make it a nice even number. That's mostly from structure. So we're catching some short momentum here. That took place without giving me a trigger. Back inside the open inventory range or inventory zone. Just watching price here at our 890 balance level as we're holding. Still finding some buyers down here inside of this inventory zone. Let me go ahead and mark off the session low. That last 2 minute printed as a inside pair for a reversal back inside of the inventory range. I'm just taking a moment there to look at the bigger picture and just realizing. So this weekend I'm gonna have after Saturday, I'm gonna have a lot of time going into next week, and I want to, because my original strategy would have did really well with this kind of price action here, or the strategy that I started using like around this time last year. So I need to really just take some time and fine-tune the risk side of that so that I can do it within inside of these funded accounts. More than likely, today is going to turn into a no trade day for me. Can't afford to hold a position outside of my trade window. Potential trigger right here. But it is inside of inventory, which I typically don't like to take. As I'm still watching buyers or buy interest in that zone. One would expect us to trade higher after that buy response there off of our 890 level. Just as a general sentiment of the market. Buyers starting to load in here. It's breaking down back below that balance level. Still, we got seeing this back and forth action. Most of this feels like a position building from our size participants as we're just bouncing back, price back and forth within this tight range. From here, I could kind of see it trading back inside of our first hour range, or the first 30-minute range. Possibly making it back to VWAP, but there's a lot of resistance that we have to fight through before we get there. Also, keeping in mind from the in the other direction, the session low. We saw a strong response at that session low, which created the session low. So it's reasonable to expect to see some more buyers down there. It's just going to be a matter of how much supply do we have to take us down there. Is it real supply that's going to create some strong sell-off, which we're catching some momentum now into that session low range? Starting to get a buy response right at the top of where I have it marked off, where we can see volume. Some front running of the actual low. Pausing price, holding price. That printed as a continuation short. breaking the low of that indicator or that trigger. Slowly pushing through, still seeing our buy response down there. So that does confirm that we do have buy interest around the session low, that if we want to truly make today if we want to truly see more selling throughout the day, we're gonna have to push through those buyers down there. So with that being said, that brings us to the end of today's Futures Radio session. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you tune in on Friday for our live squawk, which will be live here and on YouTube. And until then, trade it easy.